Hi guys, it's Hannah. Welcome back to another True Crime Tuesday. Today I'm going to be talking about a really crazy case. I was with my boyfriend watching football the other day, and all I could think about was a true crime case that I had heard about the previous year. And I heard about it because a man actually got released from prison that was serving a, I believe, 19-year sentence for killing his pregnant girlfriend. And this case that I'm going to be talking about is about Ray Carruth. And more importantly, his now deceased girlfriend, Cherica.
Okay, what's his name? Ray Carruth. Ray Carruth.
Now, this was really an important case, and it was really in the U.S. spotlight because it happened 4 years after the O.J. Simpson trial. And before I get into the case, I just wanted to talk about who the people were that we're going to be talking about.
When I was thinking of a name for Cherica, I had thought of several different things. I wanted it to be unique because I knew she would just be a very unique, really vibrant type of person. She was almost about to be named after the vacuum cleaner Eureka, because I thought, oh, that's got a nice little sound to it. And I thought, no, I don't want her to be associated with dirt and cleaning and stuff. So I said, since I love Cher so much, I want her to be tall and lean and long, flowing black hair. I said, I'm going to name her Cher. But Cher just wasn't enough. So I said, well, I put the two together. So it was Cherica.
She had the looks that could rival Halle Berry, Beyonce, all the beautiful women out there. Cherica was absolutely a knockout. She's really, really, really pretty, but she wasn't aware of how pretty she was. Not just her outer beauty, Cherica had the prettiest inside that I'd ever met.
Ray Carruth was a native to Sacramento, California, and he did really, really well in high school football, and this led him to play at the University of Colorado, and he then got drafted to play for the South Carolina Panthers, and he actually played for them right when they were starting a team. So they were a very, very new team, and this case that we're going to talk about brought them a lot of press. And I don't know if it was like negative press or if any press is good press, but the Carolina Panthers were really like well known after this case happened. And when Ray was playing in college, he had a foot injury his second year. However, he prevailed and he did really, really well. Ray and Cherica met at a pool party, and I believe the pool party they met at was the night that they actually conceived Cherica's son.
Cherica and her girlfriend had gone to a pool party, and there she met Ray Carruth. And she was pretty smitten with Ray Carruth when she met him, and I think they must have had pretty good conversation and wanted to continue the conversation a little more privately. For whatever reason, she decided she wanted to go by her dad's house with him. So I don't know if that was some kind of intuition that she had, that this might be a person that's forever in my life or what, but she felt comfortable enough taking him to meet her dad.
And this was actually the first day that they ever met, and this was the only day that they would see each other until 8 months later when they would go on their first date. And this first date was when it would lead to the tragic death of Cherica. So when Cherica was 8 months pregnant, Ray decided to take her out to a movie, and maybe dinner possibly. And this just seemed like a typical date, like he wanted to kind of get to know her, talk about the baby, what was gonna happen. So they were out, and they actually went to see a movie called The Bone Collector, and this was about a murder. And this is so creepy that he literally took her to see a horror movie about a murder before he had her murdered. So he wasn't actually the one who shot her directly, but he hired hitmen. So the first person that Ray Carruth contacted was his friend, actually, Michael Kennedy, who was 24 years old, and he asked him if he knew how to beat a girl up so that she would get an abortion. And Kennedy simply responded by saying, "I don't do that, I kill people." So this let Carruth know that he was dealing with some serious people. So he just agreed with him and said, all right, let's do it. He really didn't want to pay. He was already supporting Cherica's lifestyle, and she was basically threatening him, in his words, to get more money. So as they were leaving the movie theater, I believe they were going back to Ray's house, and they were actually on Ray Street in Charlotte, North Carolina. And he planned this to happen on Ray Street. So I don't know if he was really if he was conceited or like what the hell. When Cherica pulled up to the stop sign, Ray basically blocked her. And this was when his friends Michael Kennedy and his accomplices, Stanley Abraham and Van Brett Watkins, whose nickname was New York, blocked her in and shot at her. And New York was actually the one who shot 5 times into the driver's side. And she was hit 4 times, and she still managed to call 911.
What a play by the rookie Ray Carruth!
911, Baker, you need police, fire, police, I just shot. I'm 8 months pregnant.
Carolina Panther Ray Carruth conspired to kill his pregnant girlfriend, Cherica Adams.
The wonderful first date turned into a horrific plot for murder.
So Cherica was rushed to the hospital and got an emergency C-section, and her baby both were clinging on to life. So her mother finally got to the hospital, and when she arrived, she thought that they should call Ray because he most likely didn't know what had happened, even though he literally was the one who instigated the entire plot.
I immediately decided, oh my God, I gotta call Ray because I bet he doesn't know what's happened. You know, somehow she got shot going home or whatever. And I'm like, I gotta call him. So I had 2 numbers. I had a cell phone number and a beeper number for him. And so I just continually just kept calling both, no answer. During that time before he came, I remember, you know, they came out and told me that they had to revive Chancellor and that he had severe damage to his brain because of the lack of oxygen and blood. And so, you know, you're hearing all this from the doctors and still no Ray. And finally, he comes in with an entourage. Ray comes in with the guy that did go to the movies with him. It was his friend Hannibal. And he actually came with another woman.
I am Ray Carruth, and I'm a piece of garbage.
I went over like a mad woman. I let him know that I know you knew what happened to her. You know what happened to her. And you did it. You did it.
By the time that Ray had shown up to the hospital, and he wasn't really acting that sympathetic or empathetic by that matter, people started to get suspicious. And the way that Ray wasn't even wanting to touch his own child, and he just simply took a picture and left the room, was really a sign that he wasn't that attached and that something was really wrong. And the simple and plain fact that she said that my baby daddy did this to me in her 911 call was pretty much evidence enough to convict him. So at this point, it was kind of a waiting game, and they were seeing if Cherica was going to pull through, and her baby was obviously going to have some major intellectual disabilities, but he was most likely going to live. When there was a press conference and Ray was talking about what had happened to his pregnant girlfriend, he literally said in front of the cameras, whoever did this should be killed and put to death. And this literally set off his hitmen. This pissed them off, and they snitched on him. So Michael Kennedy, who was the instigator, his main accomplice to this whole thing, basically fessed up and told police, I'm going to tell you what happened because he just made us look like fools and bad people. So he went to the police and told them everything. They had the evidence to charge Ray with attempt to murder. And at this point, it was looking like Cherica was not going to pull through. And she was really just being held on life support at this point. Cherica's mother eventually decided to pull the plug.
I had so much peace about making the decision to take Cherica off of life support because she was existing. She was not living. When she died, she looked like she did when she was born. And it was such a surreal moment for me.
And when she was finally declared dead, this was a murder case. And Ray was basically on the run from the police at this point because they had the right to arrest him. And when he knew that he was being chased by police, he just stayed with one of his side chicks. And when he opened the door to be arrested, Ray Carruth had the nerve to come to the fucking door with his dick out because he was in bed with another woman on the day that he got arrested for killing his 8-month pregnant girlfriend. So after he got arrested that time, he was bailed out of jail for a few $1 million. And another side chick told the police where he was after a few months. And the infamous Ray Carruth, who was this badass football player that America loved, ended up in a trunk peeing in bottles for about 2 weeks. And I think that's really fucking funny.
I sat down on the side of the bed and I said, you know where he is, don't you? She just stared, and then I said, "Where is he, Lindy?" And she looked at the keys, and I didn't pick up on it the first time. I said, "Where is he, Lindy?" And she looked at the keys again. "He's in the trunk, isn't he?" I said, "Ray?" He said, "Yeah." "This is Mark Post. I'm with the FBI, and I have agents surrounded the car. We're going to pop the trunk. As soon as we pop the trunk, just enough for your hands to come out. That's the first thing I want to see is those hands come out." And his hands came right out.
So it would be another year until this went to trial, which just left Ray to like dick around and do whatever he wanted on the street. So there was a plea deal with New York, who was Van Brett Watkins. So he was going to be the star witness because he was pissed off by what Ray Carruth had said about him on the news, like on a press conference in front of all of America. And how Ray Carruth had basically just not taken the blame for any of this, even though he had instigated the entire thing. However, in trial, New York, Van Brett Watkins was very combative and looked right at Carruth and said, "I will rip you like a rag doll." So the prosecution obviously argued that Ray Carruth didn't want to pay child support, which was the truth, and the defense came back and said that this was just a drug deal gone wrong, and that they basically just blamed it all on the hitmen that Ray Carruth had hired, and said that the three men were just trying to kill Ray. Ray Carruth had tried to just steal money or drugs from this group of three guys: New York, Stanley Abraham, and Michael Kennedy. And that they were trying to get back at him and shoot Ray, but they instead accidentally shot his pregnant girlfriend. And this didn't really fly. The best evidence that they had was played minute one, day one of the jury trial, which was Cherica's 911 call, which said, "My baby daddy did this." So it was basically like done. It was a miracle that he didn't get the death penalty, and he's out now, like he's out of jail now. In October of 2018, after serving a 19-year sentence for murdering his pregnant girlfriend and attempting to murder the baby that was inside of her, that by the grace of God survived, he's out of prison and he's just walking free, and he, I believe, just finished his 9-month probation.
The date of his release is first and foremost on the minds of the family he's convicted of harming back in 1999. WBTV's Steve Crump has the progress of Carruth's young son and the grandmother who provides stability in his life.
Chancellor is strong, he's happy, he's loved.
During his formative years and through a well-documented journey as an adolescent, we have seen Chancellor Lee Adams evolve. Always close by is his supportive grandmother, Sandra Adams.
He's a fighter, that he's determined, a mighty warrior.
Dealt an unfair hand at birth, he survived a fatal shooting orchestrated by his father, former Carolina Panthers player Ray Carruth.
I don't want to harm Miss Adams. I guess, honestly, I just want to truly be forgiven.
Carruth and Sandra Adams have both told me they wanted Chancellor Lee to meet his father. Over the past few months, they wrote to each other trying to work something out. The meeting never happened. Chancellor Lee, with whom he hopes for a second chance.
Do you know how much he looks like you?
I've known that since the day he was born. It was like looking at myself. So yes, I do know. Actually, I think he looks like both of us. But yes, I do see the similarities between him and I.
So that is the case of Ray Carruth and, most importantly, Cherica and her still surviving son. So I hope you guys enjoyed this True Crime Tuesday, and I will be back at you with another one next week.